So before we get going on actual knife skills, I'm going to introduce you guys to the 4 S's of knife, axe, and saw safety that I use. I've been teaching these 4 S's for multiple years now, and it's kind of a quick reminder. It works really well for knives and axes for sure, and also for saws. So here is the 4 S's of safety right here. See if you guys can see this. Your first one is sharp. You want to keep your tools sharp. A sharp tool is safer than a dull tool. If you have a dull tool, you're going to work too hard to get the work done, and there's a good chance that you're going to strain and struggle, and it's going to skip out of what you're doing and come back and get you. Number 2, stability. You'll see this depending on what you're doing with a knife or an axe. You want to have some type of stable platform that you're working with. This could be the tree itself growing out of the ground. This could be a safety log that you're working on. This could be how you're positioning your body, your legs, your elbows to give yourself stability to make this tool work. Number 3 is slow down. I see a lot of people, as they're working with a tool, they get close to being done with what they're doing, whether they're felling stuff or chopping things or carving, and they just work too fast and speed up, and accidents will happen if you don't slow down. Last but not least, the most important thing on using any of these sharp tools is safe follow through. If you forget number 1, 2, and 3, if you have a dull tool, you're swinging in a wobbly, unstable way, and you're doing it as fast as you can, at least have safe follow through. Safe follow through is what's going to save you every time. If that wood is frozen and that tool skips out, or that wood is rotten and your tool blows straight through it, make sure you always have a safe follow through. The momentum and the inertia that you're creating with your tool should not be able to come back and bite you. So there's our 4 S's of safety. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and you can apply it to all sorts of tools. All right, let's head out in the woods, and we'll harvest a sapling and cut up some wrist thick stuff. So small saplings are pretty easy to cut with a tool like this. This is a thin blade. This is a really lightweight tool. It's lighter than most hatchets on the market, which is kind of a plus. And that was one of the things I was going for on the design of this thing. This knife here, we basically have a 9 1/4 inch Leuku blade and basically a 6-inch hatchet handle. So when I'm carving feather sticks and that type of thing, I choke right up on this handle, and it's balanced really well for that type of stuff. But when I'm chopping, I go back to about a 3-finger grip. You can't see wearing these mitts, but it's about a 3-finger grip in the back here for chopping, and this gives me a lot of extra power in a lightweight blade like this. For saplings like this, we don't need a lot of power. We're going to use mainly just a flick of the wrist like this, and we're going to use the same techniques we use on axes and that type of stuff, whereas we chop on a 45-degree angle through those fibers, and then if we need to chop again for a second time, we raise up slightly, another 45-degree angle chop on top of that, and if we have to go again, another chop on top of that. We kind of walk our way up with the cut. Each chop will go deeper. Small stuff like this, what's really easy is to put a little tension on it. So I'll bend it over, and I'm going to put a little tension on this thing right down here, and then a flick of the wrist here. And what's going on is we're stressing those fibers, and then it's going to chop through them easier because the fibers are stressed. We've got a sharp tool. As far as stability goes, this thing is growing out of the ground, so it's very stable. It's not bouncing around on us. I'm not trying to work too fast here. And my safe follow through on a tool like this, I've got my arm extended, and it's well away from my body, and if it goes through, it's going to end up in the ground back here, and that's really safe. So stress this thing, give it a little pop, and we got probably almost halfway through it. I could probably give it another couple chops here. This is frozen maple, so it's not going to be the easiest to cut, but you can see that was pretty quick and easy there. Smaller saplings. There's another one right here. We'll put a little tension in this thing, and give this one a little pop, and you can see we blew right through that. So this is frozen green maple, quick and easy. Just put a little tension on the sapling, give it a little flick of the wrist. Make sure your follow through is away from your body, and if it blows straight through it, you don't have, this is a light enough tool where you're not creating enough inertia to come back and get you too easy. As long as your arms are extended and the follow through would go down into the ground or away from you, you're pretty safe. So now we're going to do a little bit of limbing on this small sapling. Big knife like this, basically as long as it's balanced right. This knife's got a great balance right in the center here when I choke up on it. We are just going to slowly work through this thing, and if you guys can see this, a little bigger one there. Yep, no problem. And once we get to a certain point where we want to make this thing smaller, I like to do is I take a really wide stance here, and I brace this sapling right up against my top of my leg here, and I'm holding it with my left hand over here, my right hand. And what I can do here is I can swing right this way, and the follow through is behind my body. So with that follow through, if you guys can see this, that follow through being behind my body, it's very safe. So I can take a full swing here and go cut straight through stuff. This is a great way. I've got stability with this wide stance that I'm using, and the sapling is actually pushed up against my leg right here, and then my follow through is straight behind me. So that one should be kind of sweet. So yeah, if you got to do that, another way of getting through stuff like this is put a little chop on it, another chop ahead of it, rotate it, and this is usually works for larger stuff. Another chop, and then you can break it in half right there. So using this type of stance though does give you a lot of stability and the ability to process stuff. Yeah, as your saplings get thicker and you're using this technique, you're going to want to throw a chop on one side, rotate it, and if you can line that thing up the right way, you can get through it just like that. So that's saplings. Let's move on to something bigger. All right, so here we have some dead maple, and I can tell this stuff is seasoned. This bark is starting to peel off a little bit, and it's cold out, so it's probably dead. Whatever moisture's in there, it's frozen. So this is good bone dry stuff. We're going to show you guys. This is about wrist thick. Show you guys how to work through firewood like this. If you're trying to cut stuff for a wood stove to fit in a stove, you're obviously going to go a little closer to the ground here. And the technique that I use on stuff like this is I'll hold the branch up with my one hand. I stand back, so I'm leaning on this thing. My arms are fully extended, and I'm going to keep the chop motion down. If I blow through this thing, I want the follow through to come down this way, away from me. My other arm is way up high. My leg is not in the way, so the follow through motion is going to be chopping down and away from myself. So what I like to do is throw a chop in this thing like this, and like I said before, if you hit that thing at a 45, we're going to raise up just slightly above it. And if we got to raise up above it again, we do that. And on something like this, I'll do usually like a 1-2 or a 1-2-3 chops, and then kind of rotate it. There's 2 chops, 2, rotate it. At one point, you're going to blow through it. Your follow through is away from you. So this is 1-2. Once again, arms fully extended. Follow through is going to be away from you, so there's no way that as you cut through this thing, that it's going to come back and get you. So throw a chop, another chop right above it, rotate, chop, chop, chop. It's is obviously not as powerful of tools as an axe, but you can get a lot done with that. That's pretty good size maple right there. Pretty wrist thick. That's good firewood stuff. You can probably deal with stuff a little larger than that. Depends on what your what the quality of the wood is. But that's the technique I use to process larger wood with this Leuku knife, which is really not designed to process large wood. But hope you guys enjoy this. Thanks.